they vanish without warning. No ransom notes, no signs of struggle, no explanation that fits what is left behind. A car left idling on a quiet county road, driver's door open, keys still on the seat. A kitchen with a meal cooling on the table and the television left on, picture jittering like a heartbeat. A student's schedule filled with lectures they never attended. On police logs, they are missing persons. In private, loved ones use a simpler word: gone. The moments before disappearance are seldom dramatic. If anything, they are ordinary. A late walk that ends at an empty bench, a camping trip where one friend never wakes, or a commuter seat occupied one stop and empty the next. But when you map these oddities together, the randomness thins and a different geometry appears. The locations do not matter as much as the circumstances. Motion sensors spike and die. Home cameras register a peculiar wash of static. Neighbors report a silence that falls over a block, as if the air itself took a breath and held it. Sometimes there are lights. Witnesses describe spheres of luminance that maneuver with uncomfortable precision, hovering without drift, accelerating with a mechanical certainty, shifting colors as if punctuating thoughts. People who see these lights often say they are aware of them in a different way than ordinary sky phenomena. They feel purposeful, like a signal. Accounts place these visuals minutes to hours before the subject has disappeared. Official lines are predictable and soothing. Military exercises, atmospheric oddities, optical illusions. Those explanations are repeated until the question loses its edge. Families keep details that rarely make it into reports. A teenager who began waking at 3 a.m. and scribbling symbols in a notebook. A mother who recorded a humming noise on her phone and later found a section of the audio erased. A neighbor who says her dog sat and stared at nothing for hours, refusing to go outside. These details, on their own, are anomalies. Together they begin to resemble a protocol, a catalog of small, seemingly technical interruptions that accompany each absence. Independent researchers who track these reports speak in the language of cross-referencing. They note unusual entries on phone towers, brief malfunctions at weather stations, localized power disturbances. Each anomaly is small, explainable in isolation. As a group, they hint at intention, an engineered pattern stitched into everyday life. It is the difference between static on a radio and a transmission. One is noise, the other is a message once you know how to listen. Witness testimonies, rare and fragmented, contribute an even stranger texture. Some former neighbors describe a hush before the event, a pressing quiet where animal life freezes and the air seems dense. Others remember a sensation at the base of the skull, as if something invisible had brushed past. Several people who later disappeared reported dreams that were more like rehearsals, sequences of being pulled upward, of rooms flooded with white light, of voices that were not heard but understood. Those who return speak of impressions taken rather than objects removed, as if memory itself had been examined. The official approach is not always investigation. Often it is containment. Cases are reassigned across jurisdictions until threads are too thin to follow. Reports are delayed, redacted, or subsumed under broader categories that mask commonalities. Families who press become wary of media attention. Occasionally, a plain-spoken visitor arrives, a person in an ordinary suit with a calm voice, and the questions they ask are rehearsed and specific. Who did you tell? Exactly what did you see? Did you post images or recordings online? After such conversations, people tend to stop sharing. It is hard to know whether they are dissuaded by worry or guided into silence. Still, the pattern persists. Selection without visible cause, surveillance without an obvious watcher, removal without trace. The most chilling implication is not that something takes people, it is that something chooses them. Geneticists, fringe researchers, and former investigators all offer fragmentary hypotheses. Markers in DNA, atypical neural signatures, or social data that points toward certain behaviors or life stages. None of these theories is complete. None is comfortable. What remains undeniable is the human cost, the empty chairs, the unanswered phone calls, the official forms that never carry closure. The practical certainty, though, is political and philosophical. We are not entirely in control of who gets to remain in the world we recognize. If that is true, then the most disturbing question is not who has power, but who is being watched and how close they already are to choosing the rest of us. And the quietest part is how little most people notice. Most disappearances remain just that, disappearances. The missing do not come back to speak. They do not leave notes. They do not offer any testimony that could be investigated. But every so often, there is an exception, and the exception makes the pattern harder to ignore. Her name, for the purposes of public record, was Claire S. She was 34 years old when she was reported missing from a rural stretch of Montana. The last confirmed sighting was by a gas station attendant who remembered her filling up her car just before dusk. She smiled, paid in cash, and drove away. Hours later, her car was found idling by the side of a dirt road, headlights on, driver's door wide open. 6 days later, Claire was found walking barefoot along that same road. Her hair was tangled, her clothes rumpled, and her eyes were the part that witnesses remembered most. They were not frantic or panicked, but distant, as if focused on something no one else could see. She carried nothing with her. She did not respond to her name at first, only stopping when a local deputy stepped in front of her. Medical examinations surprised everyone. Despite being gone for nearly a week, Claire showed no signs of exposure, no sunburn, no dehydration, no malnutrition. Her pulse was steady, her blood work normal. She had no injuries, except for a small round scar at the base of her neck, just above the spine. When asked about it, she became agitated and changed the subject. It took 2 days before she began speaking about what she remembered. At first, her words came in fragments, light, cold, no shadows. She described a sensation of being lifted without movement, her body held in place without straps or bindings. Like gravity stopped working, she said, or like I was the only thing in the room that wasn't moving, but the room was moving around me. Then she described the space. It had no visible walls, and yet it was enclosed. Everything was bathed in a uniform white glow, so bright and even that there were no shadows at all. She said it felt like standing inside the light itself. The air was cold, metallic, and heavy, making each breath a conscious effort. Shapes moved in the glow, tall, thin, and precise. Their skin was almost translucent, their limbs too long for human proportions. Their heads were slightly elongated, with eyes that reflected the light like liquid silver. They did not blink. She felt them observing her, but not in the way humans observe. They weren't looking at me, she said. They were looking through me, like they already knew everything they wanted to know. She described lying on a surface that felt smooth and slightly warm, though she could not see it beneath her. Her body did not respond to her thoughts. She could not turn her head or lift her arms, but she felt no panic, only a strange detachment, as though her emotions had been muted. There were others there. Human figures lying motionless, eyes closed, breathing slowly. Some were young, some old, but there were also figures that seemed in between, human in outline, but with proportions or features that didn't belong. Claire could not decide if they were human beings altered into something else, or something else altered into human form. Communication came, but not through sound. Words, or what felt like words, formed directly in her mind. They were not in English or any known language, yet she understood them perfectly. They were statements, not questions, facts about her life, moments she had forgotten, private fears she had never spoken aloud. She asked them, at least she thought she asked, what they wanted. There was no answer. Instead, a series of images appeared in her thoughts. The earth seen from above, vast fields of stars, and then something else, rows upon rows of structures that looked alive, breathing in slow unison. The sight filled her with dread, though she could not explain why. Her memory of leaving that place is non-existent. She recalled the white glow fading, then a sudden awareness of standing on the dirt road, the night air cold on her skin. She was barefoot, though she remembered wearing shoes before she vanished. In the days after her return, Claire's behavior grew erratic. She complained of an intermittent humming inside her head, a vibration that made it hard to sleep. She began avoiding bright lights and refused to speak about the scar on her neck. Friends said she started unplugging electronics in her house, taping over mirrors, and keeping her curtains closed at all times. When an official from an unspecified federal agency arrived to follow up, she did not resist the interview, but refused to sign any statements. Neighbors reported seeing her pacing her backyard at night, staring at the sky. 2 weeks after her return, she left her home without telling anyone. Her car was found in a parking lot near a bus station, but security footage showed no sign of her boarding any bus. She has never been seen again. Her name no longer appears in the National Missing Persons database. Even the original police report is missing from public record. The witnesses who saw her after she returned all agree on one thing. Whatever happened to Claire, a part of her never truly came back. When you collect enough accounts, official or otherwise, you begin to see the shape of the truth. It is not random. It is not chaos. It is selection. The people who vanish share more than timing or geography. They share traits that are not obvious to casual observers. In some cases, it's rare genetic markers. In others, it's a certain pattern in neural activity, brainwave frequencies that show up only in a small fraction of the population. Some researchers whisper about compatibility profiles, a combination of biology and psychology that makes someone suitable for what is never explained. The disturbing part is that these criteria seem to transcend culture, age, and location. Victims are pulled from cities and deserts, from crowded neighborhoods and remote farmland. Men, women, children, it does not matter. What matters is whether they fit whatever invisible list is being checked. This selection process is not new. Historical records, when stripped of their superstition, suggest the same pattern. Ancient accounts of sky chariots and spirits of the air often describe the sudden disappearance of healthy individuals. Sailors lost at sea under clear skies, entire villages found deserted, food still cooking on open fires. The events repeat century after century, disguised only by the language of the time. Modern tools make the patterns easier to see. Independent analysts, those willing to risk careers and credibility, have mapped clusters of vanishings against air traffic logs, satellite imagery, and military radar anomalies. In the margins of classified reports, the words are blunt: non-terrestrial acquisition events. Not every incident earns that label, but when it does, no further documentation is made public. And then there are the marked individuals. Once chosen, they are never truly free again. They may be returned after an encounter, but the return is temporary. The scar at the base of the neck, the strange sensitivity to certain frequencies of sound, the vivid dreams that blur into waking life, these are not side effects. They are identifiers, like a tracking beacon that no human technology can detect. This raises an unsettling question. How many people walking among us right now are already marked? Some theorists suggest that the abductions are not about physical experimentation at all. They believe it is about harvesting something intangible, memories, emotional states, perhaps even consciousness itself. The victims' bodies are secondary. The real prize is what's inside. If this is true, then the disappearances are not kidnappings in the traditional sense. They are extractions. One hypothesis, unpopular but persistent, is that the entities responsible are not visitors from another planet, but residents of a parallel layer of our own world. Imagine a reality just out of sync with ours, overlapping but invisible, where the rules of physics and time are different. To them, crossing into our layer may be no harder than stepping through a doorway. If that's the case, then the lights in the sky are not travel. They are the side effects of moving between realities. And the white rooms with no walls are not ships, but neutral spaces constructed outside of our perception of place and time. The purpose of the selection could be biological, an ongoing program to alter or guide the human species from the shadows. Or it could be resource-driven, with humanity as an unwitting supplier of something it does not realize it possesses. The most frightening possibility is that the selection is neither experiment nor harvest, but recruitment. Consider this: not all who are taken are ever seen again, but not all who are taken die. What if some are kept, not as captives, but as part of something we cannot see or comprehend? If their consciousness is altered, their sense of loyalty rewritten, they might not even think to return. Governments know more than they admit. You can see it in the patterns of suppression, statistical anomalies erased from public databases, witnesses silenced, records sealed for decades under national security orders. The truth is not buried because it is unknown. It is buried because it is dangerous to acknowledge. Because once you acknowledge it, the next question is unavoidable. How do we stop it? And there is no answer to that question. No defense has ever been proven to work. The abductions happen indoors and outdoors, in locked rooms and moving vehicles, in the presence of witnesses who can do nothing but watch. They happen to the healthy and the ill, the strong and the frail. They happen when the subject is asleep, awake, even mid-conversation. The reality is simple, and it is devastating. If they want you, they will take you. And when they take you, no one, not your family, not your government, not your technology, can bring you back. If this is a program, then it is ongoing. If it has a goal, it has not been reached. And if there is a list, it is longer than any of us can imagine. So tonight, when you look at the stars, remember, you are not looking at empty space. You're looking at the surface of something vast, ancient, and aware. Something that chooses, something that watches, something that acts without warning. And if you ever wake in the middle of the night with the unshakable feeling that you are not alone, you might already be on their list.